Welcome to Shooting Spaces, a real estate photography podcast. Discussions on gear, technique, industry news, and interviews with the best in the business. Now, here are your hosts, Rich Baum and Brian Berkowitz.
Welcome to Shooting Spaces, a real estate photography podcast. This is Rich Baum from Sacramento, California.
And Brian Berkowitz from New York.
And we want to welcome you to this week's podcast. And, as usual, we're just going to stop everything for a minute and just go, hey, Brian, how are you? What's up? What's going on?
I am fantastic. Mm-hmm. Everything is good. Shooting, continuing on like always. And things slowed down a little bit since August. But nevertheless, it's good to take a breath and catch up a little.
And I want to just bring up one thing. You mentioned that you posted it that you had a shoot that canceled after a train ride and such. And you had include the or invite the cancellation policy into the mix. So what happened there?
Yeah, so I took a train ride into Manhattan. From my railroad, I went and switched to a subway for another 20-minute train ride on the subway. So it was about an hour, 10-minute commute from start to finish, door to door. And I have to walk from my house to the train station, which is about 10 minutes. And as soon as I got off the train, I had 2 voicemails and 3 emails from my client. So I called him right back, and she was away for a week and a half. So the space I was supposed to shoot, construction didn't finish. She got back today, was her first day back. She went in first thing in the morning and she saw that it was not done. So she called me up and she postponed, and we rescheduled, and I charged them a cancellation fee, which I felt bad doing. And as I mentioned in the post, I probably would not have done it if I haven't left my house yet, because these are good clients that I've been with for a couple of years now at this point. But, I spent an hour and change commuting out, bought the train ticket, which was 25 and change between the train and the subway, all that. So if I just waived it, I would have been at a loss, and I didn't want to take a loss on the day. So I charged them the fee based on the rates that they pay me. I quickly came up with that number that I mentioned on the post pretty quickly, and they were okay with it. And I went that high based on what they pay me. But yeah, I can never charge a real estate agent for residential, that type of money for cancellation. But commercial spaces are very, very different out here.
Mm-hmm. And the outcome was good, right?
Outcome was good. I have the shoot rescheduled for another 2 weeks. Hopefully it'll be done. And
they understood. They should understand. And
they understood. They weren't happy about it, but they understood. Mm-hmm. And they said no problem.
Great.
So
awesome.
Also when these big commercial agencies have so much money that, to them, what is $350? So they said, you know what?
Well, we can only hope all the agencies we work with are prepared for inclusive things like that. And they should be, because they deal with overages and
exactly
expenditures, on all ends. So
get some high-rise commercial real estate agents. That's the way to go, especially out here in New York.
That's what we're pushing, man. Get better to shoot higher quality and just less quantity, higher quality.
Exactly. What about you, Rich?
What about me? Well, it's the dog days of summer, and I learned that term from you.
Yeah.
And it's just been great, man. I am so happy right now. It could be a little busier, but I think the market in the Sacramento area is turning into really it's a seller's market, I think, and there are a lot of buyers, but not too many sellers, and it's kind of translating, I guess, to a few less calls lately. But I'm happy to have it, and we're working on so many new things, and I'm working on so many new things that I need all the extra time I can get. So no complaints there at all.
All right. Hey, look, a little extra time never hurt anybody.
Yeah.
So what do we got going on today, Rich? Do you want to introduce our guest and tell us about him?
Yeah, sure. I was pleased that our next guest can come on because I've known this person for a long time. Virtually, we've never actually met, but we've worked together. I've thrown work his way, and he was kind enough to fulfill my needs. And he has been in the groups and the forums and PFRE forever. And
you're not too far from each other, if I understand correctly, relatively speaking.
If I'm not wrong, his name is Scott DuBose. And Scott lives outside of San Jose, California, Northern California, just outside Sacramento, San Francisco, right, Scott?
That's right. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Great. Well, welcome to the show. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, let's see. I'm Scott. I'm in San Jose, California, which is in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley area. And I've been out here about 35 years, I want to say. Originally from South Carolina. And I was in high-tech marketing for quite a long time and was laid off at one point and made the switch over to real estate photography back in 2003. So I've been about 15 years. And at the time, I was getting paid $40 a house. Yeah, think about that.
Oh, wait.
But guess what?
Well, how many photos were you delivering at that time?
Oh, probably 15. Something like that. And I was happy with $40 because at the time I was laid off. I was looking for work. And
were you still shooting film back then, or you were already digital at that point?
Digital. I was shooting an Olympus point and shoot 4 megapixel. Believe that or not. I mean, it was a really low resolution. I did not know what I was doing. Even though I was interested in photography all my life, like shooting nature photography and things like that. But to get into the interiors of a house and try to deal with the dynamic range between the windows and the interior was something brand new to me. So it was tough going at first.
All right. Before we continue on, I just want to ask you to give a plug to your website. So anybody that's listening by a computer can take a look at some of your work while we speak and get an idea and feel for what you do.
Yeah, thanks. It's scottdphotos.com. That's SCOTTD photos.com. And it's just a gallery of some of my nicer shoots that I've done. And I have been able to do a lot of nice shoots and a lot of nice homes being in the area around Silicon Valley. And I do a lot of work in the Los Altos, Woodside, Atherton areas, which are really high income, really high property values. And I get to see some pretty nice homes, and I'm very fortunate for that.
Some beautiful homes beautiful images on your website. I urge everybody to check out Scott's website if you're on a computer that you can while we go through this podcast. But that's great. And Scott, I know you from way back when I started. I think I started in 2007, and I immediately went to PFRE, Photography for Real Estate, Flickr group, and you were one of the people that set me straight. And I think you actually set me more straight than anybody else, because you, I think, were the one who set me straight on what verticals were. And I was so proud of an image, and I've mentioned this before. I was so proud of an image because it was a great room, beautiful light, everything was great. And I was pointing the camera down, and I had the converging verticals, and I think you said, that's not going to fly. Yeah. And
I don't know.
I didn't understand.
I've never been that vocal on those sites, but when I was, or when I am, man, I don't know. Verticals is one of those things that just kind of jumps out at me when I see a photographer's images that have those converging verticals. And I don't know. It's one of those things that my brain just clicks on those. And if it was me that did that to you, I apologize, but I'm thankful
No, man. I owe you a debt of gratitude.
Well, I was about to say, Scott, you might solely be responsible for what Rich Baum has become photography-wise.
No, I would say.
Well, there's other things too, but I'm indebted to you, Scott. No, I just think
of other people we could thank too.
Yeah. No, your work's great, and today I hope we can discuss a few issues, a few subjects, and one of them is I just wanted you to maybe talk about your workflow shooting wise. And one thing I've learned about you from knowing you is you are extremely efficient, and I have yet to work with you, so I have yet to see it. But I know that you've got a few tricks up your sleeve to saving time and getting those wonderful shots under control. But I'd like to if you could just go technical for a minute and just say, what are you doing, and how is it maybe saving time that people can learn from?
Well, before I do that, let me say that before I get into ways to save time, image quality is so important. If you do want to advance into this business, you have to be able to shoot high quality images or provide high quality images to your clients. And I think when people come to this podcast and they think, oh, I'm going to learn how to be really efficient and fast in shooting and in processing, that's not at the expense of image quality. And if you're going to move up in this world, in this business, you really need to focus on figuring out how to deliver high quality images to your clients. So that's the main thing. This is not at the expense of image quality. So I'll say that last time.
And yet, rightly so. Yes, you should mention that.
Yeah. So having said that, I found that, well, I'll take you back a little bit further into my shooting experience. So when I first started out, I was just doing a point and shoot Olympus 4 megapixel camera. And again, I didn't know anything about lighting. I didn't know anything about dynamic range. And once I started looking into it more, I went down the HDR route. And that was interesting to me because now I could get a decent looking window in an interior room. That lasted me for a few years, and then I got really tired of it, and I started using flash on my brackets. So let's say I was doing 3 brackets, 2 stops up and 2 stops down. I started adding a flash to each of those bracket shots for the window pull, and then I started doing flash and ambient with my HDR process, and it got a little bit cumbersome. So I'd say in the last 2 to 3 years, I've gone more to the single shot raw shooting with flash. And so now I'm doing flash ambient blends. I count on the ceilings being a light color so I can bounce the flash off of the ceiling, which gives you a nice color balance inside, or a nice predictable color balance on the inside of a room. And then to get rid of the hot spot on the ceiling, I'll blend in I'll mask in an ambient shot with the ceiling properly exposed. Mm-hmm. And that flash ambient process is the basis of what I do. And it provides so many advantages for me. The fact that I'm holding the flash, again, let's go back to equipment for a second too. So I'm only shooting, I'm shooting full frame Canon 6D. I have a tripod, and then I have a flash, a single speed light in my hand. That's all I use. I don't use light stands. I don't use umbrellas. I don't use any kind of light modifiers. I'm aiming the flash at the ceiling, and it's bouncing into the room, down. I'm aiming the flash into the room so it's not straight over my head or over the camera. And that gives a nicer look. And it's just a lot quicker way to do things, in my opinion.
It sounds very similar to what I'm doing.
I don't know. I know some people are old school and they want to set up multiple flashes, and if they have the time, they can get all that dialed in properly. But again, if I'm shooting a 2,000 square foot house and I'm getting paid whatever I'm getting paid, I want to be as efficient as possible so I can move to the post process and then go on to shoot, however many homes I shoot in a day. So I want to be pretty efficient and still provide high quality, and this is my process. Flash ambient blends. If I want to move the flash into another room and light that room where you could see into that through that doorway or whatever, I'll do that, and then I'll blend those layers in light and blend mode. So I combine those, into that. That's my flash exposure basically, and then any cleanup I need to do with shadows or hotspots, that's where my ambient exposure comes in.
Well, speaking of efficiency, I know we were talking off the air before, and you were telling me actually how efficient you are as far, number wise, how quickly you go through shoots. So we keep talking about how efficient you want to be on your shoots, but why don't you enlighten some of our listeners to how quickly you can actually go through a house and shoot, let's say, an average 2,000 square foot house, and how you're able to get that done so quickly.
Well, it's kind of embarrassing because people think I'm actually, sprinting through a house, and I'm not actually doing that. I'm really lucky in a lot of ways though, because a lot of my clients are on the ball. They have the property prepared. They have the client, the homeowners prepared about how I am, what condition the home needs to be in when I get there, etc. So the homes are staged. The owners are out of my way. The agents are out of my way. There's not a whole lot of chit chat before and after. There will be small talk, but it'll be as I'm in another room and they're in another room. It's like, hey, how about those Giants? Did you see that game the other night? That type of thing. Or how are your kids? How have your kids been? And that type of thing. But it's always I'm focused on what I'm doing for the most part, and I've got the process down. A 2,000 square foot house. In the past, I've liked to say that I've got a 20-20 process. So my process is 20 minutes to shoot a home and then 20 minutes to process that home. And that's shorthand for saying, damn, how do you do it so fast? I don't know. That's what I boil it down to, 20-20.
I'm amazed because, again, your work is just stellar. And I just would love to find out how I'm missing whatever steps I'm missing that are taking the extra, 20%, 30% more
maybe
time.
I'll join you on a shoot sometime, Rich, and I could say, damn, what are you doing?
I'll just hire you to shoot it, and I'll just watch you, man. It's
we
cheap.
could do that. That would go by too quickly, though. No, seriously, the homes are ready. When I get there, it's like, okay, go straight. Oh, here's a big tip. If I go into a home and there's an agent, there's the homeowner, the wife, the kids, the dog, I go as far away from them as possible right away. So if they're in the living room and the kitchen, I go to the back bedrooms. That's where I start. So small talk and all the stuff that sometimes takes people 10 and 15 minutes to get through, I'm done. I don't do that.
Yeah.
But I think that's good for a spot where you already have your clientele, right, and you have your agents and your business is already built. For, newbies or people that are still trying to build their business, I think that chit chat and networking is essential to helping their business grow. The agents want to know they can trust you. They want to know that you're friendly, that you have that type A personality, that they can come in and they don't have to worry about it. And, for people that are new and working with new agents, if you just go to the back of the house and ignore them and you're out in 15 minutes, or 20 minutes, it's going to be hard to get that repeat
you're
absolutely
right. I would agree with that. I've known a lot of these agents 10 years or more, and they know my process, and they know that they're going to get good work, and they're not going to be, after I get done, it's like, I sometimes have to apologize because the homeowner will be there and I say, I know that was really quick, but you don't have to worry. You'll get good pictures out of this, and it'll help sell your home faster.
I agree, cutting to the chase sometimes, and I really attribute it to if you're speaking to me, I have a few agents and I love them, but I just got to say I can't talk right now because I don't want to miss a room or miss a feature, and I just basically say, you know what, I walk into a house, and even with the agents I really know, I'll say, hey, so is there anything you want me to not shoot or to shoot, or a feature I might miss, or do you want me to just do my thing? And when you kind of put it that way, really cut and dry, most always they just go, oh, just Rich, do your thing. And that kind of sets me up for no chit chat. Let me just do my thing and get the hell out of there.
How long does it take you, Brian, by the way, for a 2,000 square foot?
2,000 square foot house. I mean, that's pretty quick. I mean, most of my houses are a little bigger than that, knock on wood, but I would say a 2,000 square foot house would be about 45 minutes for me.
Dang, I'm in the wrong podcast.
How about you, Rick?
You know what? I was kind of proud one day. I think I sent you a message. I got it down to like an hour and 15 minutes. And I have come to the conclusion that on a good day and a good house that's well set up, I'm going to take an hour and 15 minutes. I might actually, though, go sub 1 hour to, I think my record's 42 minutes. But I'm okay with an hour and 15. And I'm really okay because I've set myself up. I don't shoot a ton of houses. I'm not really worried about, getting to the next one. And if I dig a house, it's going to take me longer because I just like doing it. I still have the passion. I still have little people like Wayne or whatever, and everybody talking in my ear going, oh, no, you got to get that or whatever. And people thinking people are going to see it. I just do what I want to do. And sometimes it's an hour and a half, sometimes it's 2 hours. So I'm not going to say I'm 45 minutes by any means.
No, but with respect to what you're saying, Rich, my 45 minutes is usually in an ideal situation when I walk into a house and everything, like Scott said, everything is ready to go for me. I shot a house yesterday where it was not ready to go. And as I shot rooms, the homeowner was in the other rooms moving crap from one room to the other. And that took quite a bit longer.
It adds
and
up.
You know what?
Yeah.
It's a pain and it is what it is. And there's only so much you can do. And, this agent knows better and he did his best to prepare the homeowner, but you get there and it is what it is, and you just have to deal with it sometimes, unfortunately. So that took a little longer, but yeah, in an ideal situation where I walk in and the house is ready to go, I would say I can, truck through it in 45 minutes.
I think one of the most important things about my process, if I can say it that way, that sounds kind of stuck up or whatever, but my process. Yeah, and you can see me in Palm Springs later this week. No, I'm not.
Are you going to?
But I think it's really important if you do want to speed up your time shooting a house. It's really critical that you sort of think through what your post-process is, your post-processing steps are when you're shooting the house. Because, I can do a ceiling bounce and I know, okay, I captured that part of the frame exactly like I want it. Now all I need is an ambient shot up here. Okay, now look at that doorway over there. That's pretty dark. So I'll take the flash over into that far room and I'll do another exposure. Okay, now I know I can do a light and blend mode and bring that exposure in. That's a really great view out that window now. But I need to darken that window mode, and then I'll do a direct flash on the window and do the dark and blend mode. And so, as you're shooting the house, you really, in my mind, it's really important that you think about your post processing for that particular angle that you're shooting.
Absolutely, you nailed it 100%. Everything I tell people is you've got to be thinking the end result as you're shooting. That's how it all goes together, and really just. Having it down and over and over again, that's where you make up the time. That is really knowing confidently that you need this piece, and this piece. And for me, now you probably don't tether. Do you tether?
I don't right now. No, I don't.
Because that's literally, if I was not tethering and I could look at the back of the camera and feel secure, that would probably save me at least 10 minutes because I'm tethering with Sony is spending at least 5 solid minutes waiting for images and settings to change. A little bit. But it's worth it to me because I guess I never trust what I'm doing to not seeing it after I take the shot really well. So I know, but you nailed it. Having all of your ducks in a line, making sure you get all your parts and your pieces to the equation before you get home, because I always say the difference between an amateur and a professional is an amateur makes mistakes and they find out the mistakes were made when they get home. A professional makes the same mistakes, but they realize it as they're making a mistake and rectifies that issue. And that's real estate, weddings, sports,
I would agree with
whatever
that.
you're doing.
And especially for this line of work, we have let's put it this way. If you're a wedding photographer, I can imagine, and I've never done shot a wedding before, but I can imagine that you don't have that many shoots, maybe once every 2 weeks, once every week. I don't know. But, we're doing multiple homes in a day. And after a while, you get to know the process and you become confident with what's on the back of the camera. You know that, okay, that shot's going to work. And okay, now I need to add another exposure or whatever. We get to, the repetition helps us a lot because we do get to understand the process and know what works and what doesn't work.
Maybe I just have to trust myself more.
Trust yourself, Rich.
And go with
You've
it.
been at this.
No, that's great.
On, man.
I know. And one other thing I just really have been thinking about a lot is I will take several ambient shots to get the proper exposure. But in reality, I know in the back of my mind, I can push or pull that exposure on that shot to really I can push it a stop or two. So I almost don't have to take all those extra shots. So, that's maybe something that could cut me out at least 10 or 12 minutes.
One thing I do,
so that could help.
and again, this is going back to what the post process is going to be. As long as I haven't completely blown out a highlight area or completely blocked out a shadow area on an exposure, I know that I can pull the shadows and highlights of a single raw shot pretty damn far. And if it's not quite there, and let's say it's not blown out, I can do, I can duplicate that layer in Photoshop. And if I want to darken an area, I'll do multiply blend mode. If I want to lighten an area, I'll do screen blend mode. And that's how I take it, improve on what I did in camera. And so again, it's back to what are you going to do in post? Do I know how to do that? And I don't know. I rely so much on my post processing process that I don't know. Maybe it's not good.
Well, your work looks great, so I wouldn't say to change anything.
Well, Scott, I want to ask you, because you've been able to grow your business to, I think, a place where many of us strive to be, given the amount of shoots you do, I guess, on a daily basis, but even more so on an annual basis. And you were giving me the numbers a little bit earlier. Do you want to dive into briefly the type of volume you do? And obviously your efficiency allows for that, because no one can do this type of volume that, I guess, you can give some numbers. No one can do that type of volume unless you're as efficient as you are. But how you're able to manage a business doing that type of volume as well? Because when you sent me those numbers earlier,
well, again, blown. I'm really fortunate that I'm in a high volume area. First of all, I mean, San Jose, Mountain View, Sunnyvale, Atherton, Redwood, all these. I'm in the Bay Area, the Silicon Valley area, and there's 5 or 6 million people in this area. I don't know how many houses, but there's a lot of turnover a lot of times, and so houses are always needing to be photographed. So I'm really fortunate that I am in a high volume area to begin with. So I think, gosh, 4 or 5 years ago, I was doing over 1,100 appointments in a year. I've gotten that down to where it's no more than 900 appointments in a year, but I've raised my prices. Wow. I can't say enough how fortunate I am to be in this area. How did I build the business?
Right.
Well, first of all,
I mean, just doing quick math, you're talking about almost a little over 17 shoots a week, which is crazy.
Well, that's great.
Well, crazy to me. I guess not crazy to you when you're doing what is that, like 3-4 shoots a day. If you're able to get in and out of a house in 20 minutes, that's actually not so unreasonable.
Oh no, it's not unreasonable, I don't think. And add in the commute time in between houses, and you got to be efficient when you're planning your drive schedule as well. So let's see, how did I build the business? So I strictly by word of mouth. I never have marketed what I do. I have a website. I refer people to my website. I have my website address in all of my emails that go out. So I guess there's that. I started work for some virtual tour companies, some that are nationwide. I started with those companies close to 10 years ago now, I guess it was. And that brought me in, even though the pay is not what you would like it to be in a lot of cases, that exposed me to a lot of agents that then referred me to other people. And that led to exposure to, let's say, marketing companies that create the brochures for agents. And they began to refer me to higher end agents. And it just grew and grew. Again, it's back to the quality thing. If you can provide consistent quality, if you're a good person in front of the agents and in front of the homeowners, I think that adds a lot. If you're dependable, if you're on time to shoots, I mean, if I'm a couple of 3 minutes, outside of the time that I set up with the agent, I'm a little bit nervous, and I don't think I'm weird that way. It's just I want to be as consistent as dependable as possible. So that's been a big thing for me.
Yeah, well, that's a big thing when you're trying to build your business is make sure your clients know they can trust you and you're going to show up when you say you're going to show up.
And
So, there's no reason for you not to, be worried about that. That's a big factor. If I'm late to an appointment, I feel really, really bad.
I'm a one-man business. So, if I don't represent to the agent what they want me to represent, and the other thing is, if I don't come across well to the homeowners as well, that's going to be a negative on the agent. So, they want you to be a good reflection on them as well.
I think the real, if I was going to say one attribute that I've gained the trust of my agents, they don't have to, they don't want to seek out lower prices because they value I think the key word for me is reliability.
Right.
And that means you're reliable to show up on time, produce absolutely. Of course, we all want to produce, and we all should be producing the best quality work. But we can also talk to homeowners to have them feel good about the transaction and feel good about the agent. You're just a representative, and that's what we all are, just a representative of the agent. So I think that it's all part of the same thing. But for me, it's just overall reliability where everything is going to be consistent and they don't have to worry about that part of their business.
Yeah, and I think not only is it important to that particular homeowner, but it's important to the agent as they're trying to attract new homeowners as well, or new sellers. Mm-hmm. The high quality is going to play a role in that, and the fact that you're a part of their team, which is a trustworthy team, hopefully, and a reliable team, and it just all comes together, and the agent is able to get more clients that way. And I think if you can be that positive for the agent, then I think you're going to do quite well.
Well, what's it like running and managing a business that shoots roughly 900 shoots a year? I mean, how do you schedule, invoice,
by yourself?
Process? How do you do all that?
Well, I don't know how to answer that, except I'm just at it all the time, I guess. People call me all time, all hours of the night, and text me at all hours of the night, and I'm scheduling on my phone or on my laptop, and I don't know, keep it all straight.
Well, one thing you didn't even, I don't think we've talked about it, is you do, I don't know if you do all of it, but you do the majority of your editing on the road on a laptop. Is that correct?
Yeah, all of it's on a laptop, that's for sure. Not all of it's on the road, of course, but I do count on being able to process if I'm in between shoots. I can sit in my car under a shady tree and do some processing, and or if I go to the local Starbucks or the local library, because I rely on the Wi-Fi a lot of times in these places that I go to. If the street and the shady tree doesn't have a good Wi-Fi connection that's open to me, yeah, I'll go to a Starbucks, a coffee shop, the local library, and sit in peace and just do my thing. But yeah, it's all on a laptop. I use a Windows laptop, and I just use a trackpad, and I don't use any.
Use a trackpad because you're doing mostly lighten and darken modes, so you kind of have less of specific masking in areas. You're kind of doing.
I still do a lot of masking too, and that's all with my fingers on the trackpad. So it's just something I've become accustomed to doing, and that allows me to be really flexible and efficient that way. And I don't like being tied to an office, let's say, where I have a 30-inch monitor or whatever the heck it might be. I just don't operate that way. I'd rather be, I've got a family, and for the longest time, if I was stuck in the office doing my work, I'd be away from the family. So I'd much rather be in the family room or the living room where the rest of the family members are, and doing my work off in the corner kind of quietly and still being a part of the family instead of being stuck in the office. So that's some of the motivation for me doing it on my laptop.
Sure, I agree with you. I have a basement office in my house with my 30-inch monitor, and I do most of my work actually in my den with my laptop. So that's just because, at the end of the day, if, I'm sitting there with my wife or the kids or whatever, and we're just hanging out, I can get obviously I'm not going to be focused solely on work, but, at least I'm up there with them and not just, down in my little dungeon basement office in the dark.
But I think what we can take from this, I think, is explore working if you can, being able to push some of your work to a laptop, because there's always time in the day where hopefully we're all gonna get so busy we can't fill it all in. So we'll able to help out by editing on a laptop mobily. In a Starbucks.
Yeah, especially with our schedules, because a lot of times, if you have an hour and a half downtime in between shoots and you're not close to home, like you said, stop at a Starbucks, get some Wi-Fi and sit down and edit. And you know what? In between your shoots, your last shoot is done editing, and that's it. One less job to edit that evening.
That's exactly right. And I set aside 30 minutes or whatever it is on the calendar for each appointment, and I usually finish ahead of that time, and that gives me some extra time to do this editing on the road if I want to. So I love it when I can get done with 3 shoots or 4 shoots or whatever the heck it might be, and then I can go sit somewhere and actually work, or maybe grab a burrito and have a lunch and enjoy what I'm doing, so they don't have to do that when I get back home. I just love that fact. Okay,
so all of you out there in podcast land, I want to have you all to set your sights for schedule 30 minutes per shoot, and get the work when you go to see Scott's work on Scott D. ScottDPhotos.com. I want you to say, that's my goal, and there you go, right there. And you're literally, Scott, you are one of the only people I would actually believe that you're telling the truth, and that's how long it's taken you, because I know a lot of people fudge it. But anyway, I want to just say it's been a pleasure, and we're going to have to wrap it up. And I think that it's been educational, to say the least, for me. What about you, Brian?
Yes, for sure. I mean, now I know what I need to strive to on my real estate shoots.
Oh, my God. See, that's so embarrassing when I think about that, because I know people are as efficient as they can be, and they're struggling with it to begin with. And it's like, this dude in California comes along, excuse me, and he's getting it done in 20 minutes. Are you kidding me? So it's a little bit embarrassing.
But I don't have to strive for 20 minutes. You know what? If I decide my goal for next year, 2019, is to get minutes. 5 minutes faster on every shoot, then I consider that a win. So
that is a win.
Yes, exactly. And at the beginning of learning, I tell everybody, at the beginning when you're learning to use lights, you're learning to tether, everything's going to take longer, but don't look at it that way. Don't have blinders on. Don't think that you could be working at McDonald's making the same amount of money. It's going to get faster, get better. You're going to get faster. It's just going to all work out.
And in no time, you'll be shooting 900 homes a year.
Yeah. So, in 20 minutes apiece. Anyway, don't be embarrassed, though. I think it's something that we should all strive for, quality and to get faster. So.
Also, if anybody wants to reach out to me, they're welcome to it. Just drop me an email, text message, whatever, and be happy to answer back.
Well, we're all going to show up in your door. Please leave your address. We're all going to show up, and we're all going to go out with you and see how
I might put you on the spot here, but I'm sure everybody, Scott, would love nothing more than one day for you to come out and video one of your shoots and let everyone see your process live as it happens, because 20 minutes is pretty phenomenal.
Well, an easy thing would be for me to provide my video of my post-processing. Would you want to do that?
That's also 20 minutes, so sure, why not? Post it. I'm sure, it's all about efficiency, and, if people take one thing away from it to make them a little bit more efficient, whether a minute or two, then sure.
Exactly.
Why not? Mm-hmm. But yeah, Scott, we want to thank you for coming on. This was definitely enlightening, as Rich said, and your work speaks for itself. So thank you for taking your time out with us today.
You're welcome. Yeah. Glad to do it.
And I've really been noticing the things you seem to be posting most in the groups are your twilight shoots, but you are the example to me. I'm not a light painter, but I know that you light paint to some extent, and I will say that you are the benchmark for me on what light painting should look like, and I'm just would love to be a fly on the wall, but maybe someday I will.
Well, thanks. Can I say a few words about that?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so my process on that, I can't stand the fact that thinking about people using a regular speed light on some of these light painting things. That would just drive me a bit nuts and seems a bit tedious. I get so much out of using a really broad beam on my flash. Like, if, for example, I use an in-flash and a diffuser, which just puts out the amazing wide swath of light. And I mainly shoot from the house looking back toward the camera, or away from the house, let's say, not necessarily toward the camera, but do those 3 or 4 or 5 flash shots, combine them all in light and blend mode, and adjust the layer opacity and mask to taste, and you've got a twilight shot. And it just works so well for me. I just really like the look of those, and it's relatively efficient too.
Sure. And your twilight stuff is great, so definitely a method people should consider.
Thanks.
Although it does take a little longer. All right, Scott. Well, thank you for coming on again, as we said.
Thank you too. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, great. And Rich, you want to take us out?
Yeah, sure. I just want to say thank you all for listening there in the podcast universe. And we're going to hopefully have some new stuff coming out, and check back every week. And please utilize the Ask the Guys. You can record your question on your computer, and that's a really great opportunity to get your question answered by either one of us or by a professional, a really good professional. No, but we'd be happy to answer that. And subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and check back later. We'll be doing some great stuff.
All right, Scott, thanks again for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you too.
All right, take care, everyone.
This has been Shooting Spaces, a real estate photography podcast. Subscribe to the show and don't forget to leave us a review. You can also follow Rich and Brian on social media and at their website, shootingspacespodcast.com.